You said it's important that people
Yeah.
have choice. And obviously recently the Sharia fund was changed, and you acknowledged within communication that people were choosing that fund not because of the religious lean, but because of the 100% equity exposure.
Yeah.
So you kind of removed that choice.
Yeah.
It was like, we know you're doing it, but
Yeah.
we're making this decision. You know?
Yeah. So it's, I mean, we didn't know why people were making those choices. We had some suspicions because you can look at, you can see some of the characteristics and stuff, and you could see how much money was going into it and things like that. But from the very beginning, the original rationale for offering a Sharia fund, and we spent a long time debating whether we should or not, and why a Sharia fund and not different other kind of religious faiths and things. And we've got this, we have this kind of like framework for decision making that has to hit kind of so many, you know, is there anything in the market that we can actually buy to offer? Is there a member detriment if we don't do it? What is that member detriment? Does it fit with our operational? And one of the key questions is, can it be diversified? Because diversification is an important tenet to us in terms of our investment beliefs about how you should invest and stuff. And it was a very kind of like in the balance of whether we should offer this at all, because one, we couldn't find any diversifiers. All we could find was an all equity kind of strategy. The second thing was we couldn't find any way to de-risk as people got a little bit older. So a lot of nervousness about putting people into a product that's 100% equity, and you could still be in 100% equity in your mid 70s. That felt kind of quite uncomfortable. So the rationale was, it's important to do it. We don't think there's a lot of demand for it, and we did some really, really interesting research into British Muslims in the UK and their attitudes to long-term saving and Islamic finance, and it was really, really interesting. And their attitudes was just like everybody else, not a lot of understanding of long-term financial products, not a lot of understanding of Islamic finance when it comes to pensions. That was quite eye-opening, that this wasn't kind of front of mind, that people would say, no, I'm a good Muslim, I pray, I do I fast and things like that. It wasn't being linked to your bank account or your mortgage or something like that. The key driver was our nervousness about employers, particularly employers who may have kind of big kind of Muslim workforces and things like that, feeling that they may be kind of prejudicing against their kind of workforce because they were automatically enrolling their workforce into a pension scheme. And a lot of their workforce may feel that they couldn't actually save and would have to opt out, and then that would feel like discrimination. So a key driver for it was more about employers. It was always kind of unfinished business. So, okay, we can set this up and we can use this fund, and it's the fund we use is the HSBC Islamic Fund, which tracks a Dow Jones index, and there's a board of Sharia scholars on the Dow Jones, and HSBC have their own board of scholars as well that saying, you know, this is in accordance with Sharia law. We also wanted to put some diversification in that, whether that was going to be some kind of alternative to bonds. Could we do anything in property? Nothing in the market that we could find at our kind of price point that would actually fit with our operations. So it was kind of unfinished business, and we've been spending the last kind of 10 years trying to find that. Now we are able to do that because products have been developed and we've got to a different stage. We thought we should be doing this as soon as possible because the aim of this fund was particularly for those kind of reasons that I set out, and our nervousness about exposing people to the wrong levels of risk. We did think that there would be some people who wouldn't be very happy about this because they'd gone into it for an all equity strategy. It was really difficult to survey people about this because it's just quite hard to reach people. So we have tried doing surveys and things. Didn't get a lot of hit rate from anybody in the Sharia fund. We've got a kind of panel of kind of members. It's really difficult to find people from the Sharia fund who were on that panel. And in some ways, the changes we've made and the response we've had, and also doing this podcast and stuff, this is really helpful. Like, we can't say we want more engagement and more discussion, and then we do something and people engage with us and we go, oh, we didn't want that kind of engagement and things. So I think for us, we think it was the right decision in terms of, for those members who want to do this from a faith-based, completely recognise that some people wanted an all equity exposure. Whether or not that's necessarily the right all equity exposure, because it's not just that it's all equity.
Strips out finance.
Strips out finance.
Heavy tech. So yeah, I get what
It's
you
a
might.
very, very kind of narrow. I think there's about 80 or 90 stocks. That's quite. It's not like like an index fund. So our main exposure in the default fund to developed equities is through UBS, and there's a climate tilt on it, but it's basically replicating the market. So there's about 3,000 stocks in that. That's proper diversification, even that's being a bit dominated by tech. So what we're going to do with all of this kind of feedback, which we've definitely taken on board and is really, really, really positive, is to think really, really hard about what we should be doing for those members who are more engaged, and they are quite a small minority and stuff. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't have a voice and they shouldn't have...
It's their pension. It's
exactly
their money. That was a clip from our conversation with Paul Todd, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Nest Invest. If you want to see the full conversation, you can access that right here.
I just found out I have a pension with Nest. I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did. It's true.
Loads of people probably don't know that they've got them, to be fair.